Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. Welcome to day 1129. A third Alabama fertility clinic stopped its in vitro fertilization program following the state Supreme Court ruling that frozen embryos are children. By classifying cryopreserved embryos as children, the ruling opens families, clinics, and doctors up to wrongful death lawsuits. Biden called the ruling a direct result of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, adding, "The disregard for women's ability to make these decisions for themselves and their families is outrageous and unacceptable." The Biden campaign directly blamed Trump for the state court's ruling, saying what is happening in Alabama right now is only possible because Donald Trump's Supreme Court justices overturned Roe v. Wade. Tim Scott, who is among Trump's possible picks for VP, dodged a question about the ruling, saying, "I haven't studied the issue," while Nikki Haley, who initially said she agreed that embryos are babies, said she did not support the court's decision. Meanwhile, Biden suggested that the current Republicans in Congress are worse than the real racists he served with as a senator in the 1970s, including segregationist Strom Thurmond. Biden said Strom Thurmond did terrible things, but at least you could work with some of these guys. Biden added that the current generation of Republicans have become a party of chaos and division. These guys do not believe in basic democratic principles. The comments come as Speaker Mike Johnson and House Republicans have continued to block an aid package for Ukraine and Israel, which has already passed in the Senate. Johnson, meanwhile, called Biden's remarks outrageous, and Biden also took aim at Trump for comparing his legal problems to the persecution of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who died in jail last week. Moving on, a federal appeals court revoked a moratorium on new coal mine leasing on public lands. The leasing moratorium, originally enacted in 2016 by then Interior Secretary Sally Jewell as part of a strategy to address climate change, did not halt the mining, but instead prohibited federal lease sales. However, a year later, then Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke rescinded the decision and ordered the resumption of federal coal leasing. A court then reinstated the ban in 2022. And now a three-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals tossed the moratorium, saying the case was moot because the Biden administration Interior Secretary had already revoked the Zinke order to speed up energy permitting. The judges noted that a de facto moratorium appears to now be in place since lease sales have dropped sharply over the past decade after many electric utilities switched to less polluting sources of energy generation. More than 260 million tons of coal, about half of the nation's total, was mined on federal land in 2022, and more than 400 million tons of coal were mined from federal lands in 2014. It's not clear how Biden will respond to the ruling or how soon federal leasing will resume. And finally, the New York Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engoron denied Trump's request to delay paying $453.5 million in fines stemming from his decade-long scheme to inflate the value of his assets to obtain more favorable loan and insurance terms. Trump's attorney asked for a month-long delay in the enforcement of the civil fraud judgment, saying it would allow for an orderly post-judgment process, particularly given the magnitude of judgment. The judge replied that Trump's attorney had failed to explain, much less justify, any basis for a stay, denying Trump's request to pause the enforcement of the ruling. Trump now has 30 days to post bond and appeal the ruling. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.